Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and the new expansion to Hearthstone is nearly upon us, Saviors of Uldum. So we can look at the cards. You go into My Collection, you go into Crafting, you click Include Uncraftable Cards, and then you filter down by Uldum's expansion. Last time we looked at the Rogue class character specific cards. We started with the neutral cards, so we only have 3 more to go, but I am running out of steam quickly. I don't mind saying. So today we'll be looking at the Shaman? Yeah, it's Shaman. No W. I looked it up. You don't pronounce it Shaman, although a lot of people seem to think you do. So the Shaman cards, we'll go through them quickly. First one we have is a 0 mana spell called Totemic Surge. Give your totems +2 attack. Since the Shaman's hero ability is to summon totems, that's alright. That's something we definitely haven't seen in any of the previous expansions, and we've kind of needed it. It's kind of weird that like 5+ years, I've been playing this game for 5+ years, it's probably been out for about 6 in the beta format. It's weird that just now they're getting around to giving us a spell that actually increases the attack of just totems. Although, in all fairness, the Shaman has had Bloodlust, which gives everything +3 attack for 1 turn, and that's been around since the beginning. Next, we have the 1 mana, technically a spell quest card called Corrupt the Waters. Your quest is play 6 Battlecry cards. Your reward is the Heart of Vernal. So I have no idea what the Heart of Vernal does, so it might be useful, it might not. Playing 6 Battlecry cards is not super hard. Quest cards you draw in your first draw always, so you can play them at the very beginning of your game. Every single hero in this expansion seems like they're going to get a new quest card, and that's very nice, unfortunately, because the way things are depicted, because they don't show us the Heart of Vernal card or what that effect is or explains it. In a weird way, this would just be better if this was a website, a nice HTML5 looking website where I could just click on things and they could hyperlink to other things. I could click on the picture and see things better. Like, the entirety of Hearthstone is programmed in Unity, and I understand that the card game and the effects and the programming probably runs pretty well in Unity, but the collection aspect, yeah, you could probably do this on a website better. That doesn't mean you have to launch a new browser. You can just have a internal sandbox version of Chrome inside your game. Moving on, I guess it does probably have some effects and actions that would probably run a little bit slower on a browser, but it's also not giving us the information we want. Anyways, moving on. Next we have a 2 mana, 0 attack, 2 health totem. This is, I believe, the first totem we've had in a very long time, and totems are Shaman specific, so there wouldn't be any neutral cards that are totems or any other hero class cards that are totems. It'll be interesting to see how many new demons are introduced in the Warlock class next. Anyways, it's a totem class minion. Evil totem. At the end of your turn, add a lackey to your hand. That's not terrible. Lackeys were introduced a couple of expansions ago, so it's a minion class, for lack of a better term. I'm not sure that it actually is a class though, because I don't think it says lackey when you play the card. So that's a weird combination of a previous expansion's key phrase to bring it into the newest expansion. But yeah, more totems on the field will synergize, and maybe it will make it more reasonable to try and play a totem deck for the Shaman. Inevitably I end up playing a Murloc deck for the Shaman because that's way easier, but maybe that will change. Next we have a 2 mana, 2 attack, 2 health elemental class minion called the Sandstorm Elemental. Battlecry, deal 1 damage to all enemy minions, and overload 1 mana crystal. Overload, since overload is a hero specific effect to Shaman, it means it will lock one of your crystals. In this case, it locks one of your crystals for the next turn, so you can't use it. So if you have 1 crystal overloaded, you will use it in the turn that you played a spell that used that amount of magic, or a minion that used that amount of mana. But then the next turn, you're shortchanging yourself for the next turn. Yeah, I think I explained that. I'm not going to try to explain it a third time. Next we have a 3 mana spell, Plague of the Murlocs. Transform all minions into random Murlocs. This isn't terrible. This is not terrible at all. Particularly if there's a lot of just random minions on the field. There's a lot of synergy that happens between different Murlocs, so you could easily see if you had a bunch of 1/1 lackeys on the field, 7 1/1 lackeys on your field, and then you transformed them all into Murlocs, you'd be better, in a much better position. And then transforming your enemies' minions into Murlocs would probably remove effects like Divine Shield or Taunt or any kind of synergy they might be trying to work for. So that's pretty cheap for 3 mana for what it can do in late game, mid game situations. Next we have a 3 mana, 3 attack, 3 health beast type minion called the Weaponized Wasp. Again, with the art, I'm having a hard time trying to figure out what is with this head. This looks kind of like a dinosaur head on top of a giant wasp's body. Which I think maybe this wasp has too many legs too. But whatever. I'm not even going to bother to care about the art. Battlecry, if you control a lackey, deal 3 damage. Nice synergy with lackeys, although you're going to have to offer more cards that synergize with lackeys before I could think that there is actually a viable lackey deck you could play with Shaman. Yeah, particularly I'm not going to care about art when at any point they can change the name, and they've shown now, after a very long time, they've shown the willingness to change the names and change the art in the game on a whim, to basically just censor blood and lewd poses if they choose that they think it's too violent or too lewd. Real arbitrary decisions in a nutshell. Next we have a 4 mana, 3 attack, 2 durability weapon called the Splitting Axe. This is the 3rd weapon. I can't help but feel like they developed the cards for each hero in the same order that I'm going through them, because we started seeing weapons right about here, and we've been seeing weapons consistently now. The Splitting Axe has a battle cry to summon copies of your totems, which I assume means that if you have 4 totems on your field and you attack with this, well, not attack with it, but play it to activate the battle cry, you then would have 7 on the field, because you can't have 8. You can only have 7 minions on your field, so that would fill your field with just 4 minions, 4 totems. Next we have a 4 mana, 2 attack, 6 health legendary minion called Vesna. Is this supposed to be like Vishnu or Vesina? Venus? I have no idea what this name is supposed to be. And looks like it's some kind of snake Egyptian god. Let's see. Anyways, the effect is while you're overloaded, your other minions have +2 attack. This is a pretty great synergy card. if you're going to play an overload deck. That being said, it's a little low on attack, but probably not too low, and it's high on health, so you're in a good position, I think, for the cost. So this is a pretty good legendary card too. We're back to seeing good legendary cards in the expansion. Next, we have a 7 mana spell called Earthquake. Deal 5 damage to all minions, and then deal 2 damage to all minions. I don't understand why you would need to do it that way. The only thing I could think is Earthquake is intentionally trying to destroy divine shielded minions, and it's weird to have a spell that's so specially targeted against divine shield minions. I guess it also would stop any kind of death rattle minions that summon new minions, which there's a decent amount of minions like that have a death rattle that summons something else. How this would interact with Reborn is questionable, but from the live action cosplay video that I saw announcing this expansion, it seemed like Earthquake was the card that they specifically used to get rid of Reborn minions. So this gives me the impression that the key phrase Reborn means something summons itself once after it dies. Not at the end of the turn, but just after it dies, it resummons itself, and then it no longer has the Reborn ability. If that's the case, then I could imagine that every minion that has Reborn in this expansion has less than 5 health or 5 health, and then reborns itself with less than 2 health or 2 health. And this is supposed to be the card that you play to get rid of Reborn minions completely. If not, I have no idea why this card is phrased this way. If anything, you'd flip it the other direction, deal 2 damage to all minions, then deal 5 damage to all minions. That would get rid of a lot more divine shielded minions. Moving on, though, we have a 7 mana, 3 attack, 4 health minion called Mogai Flesh Shaper, sorry. It has Rush, which means it can attack a minion on the first turn it's played, and it costs 1 less for each minion on the battlefield, which I guess if you had 7 minions on the battlefield it would be 0, but then you wouldn't have room to be able to play it. So in all actuality, it could at lowest only be 1 mana to play, and at 1 mana being a 3/4, it's pretty good, but at 4 mana being a 3/4 with Rush, it's not that good, and anything above a 4, it's definitely not worth playing. So I'm not super impressed by that either. So we got a few cards here in the Shaman hero class that maybe have some interest to them, but not a lot. Not really a lot. That seems to be the case for all of them, is that the 2 main cards in each expansion are good and everything else is meh. Same is true for the neutral cards. This has also been true for previous expansions also. It's been a case where a lot of the previous expansions are just full of 1, maybe 2 interesting cards, and then maybe you'll find about 10, maybe 12 support cards that work with those really interesting cards, and then that is kind of it. And then the rest of them you just end up having because it's a loot box game in the form of card packs. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. We only have 2 more. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.